Hello and welcome everyone. This is Blackadder at Blackadder's, or rather RTS League channel, sorry, and we're going right into the first game between SlipKn0T team and the new chapter. So, looking at the civilizations at this point, we're going to play on Arabia after quite some waiting time. It's going to be VH as Hans, P7 as Mongols, then Abon as Chinese, and Sniper 1 Mongols, Skittle as Hans, and Pedro is going to play Mayans. So that seems like almost a perfect mirror, just a switch between Mayas and the Chinese here. And well, in the meantime, we are going to have a look around the base here a bit. So that's a boar right on the right side. And otherwise, the second one so far not seen, but looking at the gold placement, it seems to be pretty reasonable overall. And looking at stone, well, it's not really ideal because obviously it's beyond the tree line, so it won't be really all that easy or rather safe for gathering in the early game, especially when he is not the pocket. But looking how the second stone and the gold mine here are kinda towards his ally and also next to this ridge, it should be reasonably easy to defend, potentially with just a few walls around here. So this is one of the bars, the second one is somewhere close by. We see it somewhere, not really, we just see a bit of a fight between those two, and I really don't see the second bar so far. So is it maybe already stolen? Here's one bar. Okay, so that's probably his. Well, that's definitely very far away from him, and really that's not ideal for VH at all. And does he actually see it? No, he doesn't. So yep, that's a pretty big problem, and right now he might maybe be thinking that he has actually been stolen a bar by potentially yellow, but so far that hasn't been happening, so no, that wasn't the case here. You'll be switching into the next player pretty soon, right about now, and let's put on the Fog of War. Second will be, for example, Ablon as the gray player in the pocket here, playing what? Chinese, and he is having pretty nice mines in the forefront here with the gold, so that's a very nice placement. Obviously, because both because of this ridge and the tree line, this should be reasonably easy for him to defend and potentially go for whatever he wants to go with the Chinese here. A pretty decent tree line as well, and already working on making sure that the deer is closer to his home base. Otherwise, do we see the boar somewhere? One is being lured in already. Second one, well, that's just a relic on the backside. Second boar is in here, which is much closer than what VH is facing, and otherwise stone placement is very nice indeed, as obviously it's between him and his ally on the left side. That's going to be Ptake, or I don't know if it's supposed to be Ptake, but probably P7 seems like Ptake, so let's just call him Ptake at this point. Maybe someone in the chat can actually correct me. And he's also having a pretty decent placement of the gold mine in here in the forefront, as obviously, yeah, this is easy to defend because you can basically just make sure that you are defending one of those mines, and that basically means that you are defending the other one as well. So very easy for him overall. War on the left, and does he see the other bar? Yeah, he does. He's already butchering it. So pretty nice position indeed. He's also kind of plastered towards the wall. But looking at the map overall, well, yeah, that's not really cool, because obviously he doesn't have all that much room to actually fall back to, and looking how he's terribly open in the forefront, that's not going to be easy to wall at all. He will be very vulnerable to potential raiding. Yeah, those golds are very nice, but I really think that he will be having a hard time in the early game with the raiding there. So I will be switching into the opponents right now. That's going to be NC. For example, Sniper will be the first one, as he's closest here, and he's already done a pretty good circle with the scouting on the right here. So that's a very nice indeed. And he knows where his mines are at this point. He's also plastered to the wall, exactly like Take, his opponent. And looking at stone, that's pretty nice. Luring in the second bar already. Yeah, second bar. And the gold, yeah, that's not cool. I wouldn't really say that's cool because it's beyond the tree line, and it's going to take him quite some time to get to that before he can actually call it safe. And yep, yet again, quite open. The map here is really wide open and will be potentially easy to raid. Yep, not really ideal, but he does have some extra mines. Yet again, they are not safe, but that's literally quite a lot of them. And if he can somehow creatively place walls like here and potentially even here somehow finish it over, it's going to be quite a lot of room to actually wall up. But if he does successfully, he's going to be having quite a decent amount of resources overall. Next to have a look at will be the blue player, that's NC Pedro, who is playing the Mayans here, and he's having the board at the back, one is already butchered. No, it isn't. So he's right now moving for it somewhere, or is this just going for a ball? Yeah, that's just going for a ball, and he will be trying to protect this line as well. Yeah, you can see that's very close to those gold mines of the red, and this should be, yeah, pretty much decent defense, even though he's really covering quite a lot of ground, and potentially won't be all that easy to defend if the breach in the walls is achieved by the opponents. So stone is very forwardish, which is basically the reason why he needs to place the wall around here. Gold seems to be nice. Yeah, he's right now luring the second board that I was looking for. Having also a relic, so I would really call his base pretty safe, but looking how he's a Mayan, he will definitely want a lot of stone. And that could potentially be a bit tricky with this placement that he has. The last player to have a look at is right now Skittle. As the yellow, who's already done quite a lot of scouting and is doing a bit more scouting with his scout cavalry, obviously, with SlipKn0T advancing into the feudal age as the first player so far, having a pretty good line of sight on literally all the mines of his opponents, which is pretty nice. Already sees where purple also is, so that's quite important for him. And looking how he's right now dropping barracks and the militia, we'll be seeing quite a lot of aggression in the very early game from him. Gold and stone, even though it's more in the offensive side, I kind of think that's pretty much a decent placement as it's very close to the TC, and it will be protected potentially by quite fast build pikemen or spearmen, so that should be really easy to defend against some kind of knights or whatever. And stone at the back, yeah, that's decent. And overall, even though he's kind of open on the left and even on the far front, yeah, this is really terribly open, you should be having an easier time defending those two here. So it seems like that yellow with purple have actually missed each other. That's curious enough, and this will be slightly problematic for yellow because obviously he's going to be denied the gold gathering here, and he's having to send quite a lot of extra villies in there, and that's not ideal at all because he is playing as Hans. That basically means that he will be wanting to go for potentially scouting cavalry and might be forced to switch into something else, or well, Scout Cavalry would of course not need any kind of gold, so that would actually be a pretty good one. But look at how many villies he's sending for the gold. He's probably thinking about archers in there. Yeah, that might be the idea. So let's have a look how yellow is doing. Well, just killing a Wolfie. Well, that definitely is something that he did not want to meet there. Half a health on one militia gone, that's not ideal. But looking somewhere else, we also see that red is the next player who is doing a bit of a militia raid in here, together with the scout from Take, who is trying to defend, and SlipKn0T is helping in that. So this should be a pretty decent army for that. With Ablon also clicking into Feudal Age and Pedro being the first from NC clicking into Feudal, whereas SlipKn0T is already advanced. What is he building? Stable as a Mongol, that's kind of understandable, and we will be seeing potentially a decent amount of Scout Cavalry from him and faster advance into the Castle Age. So that's so far it, not really any kind of luck for Sniper. Let's have a look at how purple is doing. He seems to be doing pretty well, looking how he's denying the gathering time from his opponent, which is pretty crucial and the main goal of the militia rush. And really he's doing a pretty good job at that, and very nice macro in basically not allowing himself to be cornered by those villies, and yeah, that's a huge amount of idle time from them. Looking at the yellow militias and the scout, they are finally fighting their way into the purple base. Yeah, quite late indeed, and they probably won't be having any kind of luck with this gold as it's very nicely walled up. And yeah, if the militias want to go there, they will have to go through the TC line of fire, and that's obviously not ideal, especially with one of them being half dead. Yeah, this guy that I'm just clicking in. You can see that Teal is already having a pretty decent army of Scout Cavalry and sending in even more of those. And this means that he will be trying to find some kind of free villages, but he won't be having any kind of luck because you can see that Sniper together with Pedro are taking the job of walling quite seriously, especially Pedro right now, who is trying to build a stone wall, and I'm really thinking that he will be potentially slinging then. Let's have a look if this some kind of sling is already happening. Not so far. And not so far, so that's not happening yet, but I'm kind of really thinking, even at least when he's really walling even from his ally, because yeah, yellow's map is really wide open, so there's really no point in trying to extend the walls to the right as well, which means that he will be aiming potentially to sling the Skittle and make him all the beastly in the mythical age, Imperial age, with the stables. And yeah, You can already see exactly the sling right now beginning, and this will be a very nice advance into Imperial Age and Cavaliers and of course Paladins. At the bottom, Sniper is finally finding his way through the palisade walls into the base of his opponent. So yep, that's a very nice one. A very nice and successful one. And can he actually get at some biddies? Well, one idle here, but that's pretty much it. And he will be forced to actually go right to this tree line, which is very far away, and he is getting some extra fire from the TC. Not really much, but still not going to be easy to find anything in there, especially right now when he's trapped inside from the left. So that's that, and finally Teal is finding some kind of a prey for his raiding with the Scout Cavalry, but not really successfully, as Red is quite good at defending his ally. Which results in Grey also retreating, and I don't see any kind of extra Teal Scouts, so have they already died here? That was just one. That was just one, and I literally see no one else anywhere else, so that's pretty curious. A bit of an idle after finishing the stone wall, but not really all that much. And Grey right now finishing with the wall in here, trying to make sure that they are protected, basically the same as their opponents' new chapter. So, this is where the actually Scout Cavalry is from Teal, who is right now trying to make sure that he gets rid of the militia, which was basically, at this point, a pretty big waste of resources, as they haven't done anything substantial, because Take was doing a pretty good job with the defense overall. Advances into Castle Age are happening from FH, Sniper and Skittle. That's pretty decent overall, especially for NCs. So yeah, they should be kinda ahead of their opponents. And let's check yet again into the post game. How's it looking with the slinging? Yeah, that's just Pedro into Skittle. So SlipKn0Ts are not really doing anything else. Red Scout died to Ablon, and basically this means that Sniper right now knows that Gay is trying to make sure that his base is impregnable and will be quite safe from potential raiding. Yeah, this is very important, especially because of the stone here, because they will definitely need it against their potential opponent raiding and whatnot, especially when Grey is at this point Chinese and he will need it for the castles and the Chukonus. Finishing the wall and building also quite a decent amount of camels, because they are expecting the raiding from the guy on the left, and oh well, that was slightly unfortunate for the villager, and might be even more, because if Purple actually realizes this problem and goes there, he can very easily kill the villager who is trying to build a siege workshop. And this is quite interesting. Oh well, yeah, right here we go. And even though the spearman doesn't have a really enough push in there, it might still kill the villager. Oh well, it doesn't. It doesn't. Well, that was very nicely judged by Skittle, and kinda poorly by FH, who didn't send more units, especially the cavalry archer here. That would definitely help and stop what Skittle was doing. Right now it means that Skittle will be having enough siege here quite soon. That's probably going to result in 2 rams, just a matter of moments, and here we see a very nice defense from the Grey player Ablon, and also quite a decent amount of camels from him. Also, what's though important to say is that some kind of crossbowmen from Red are finding their way into opponent's base, but at a pretty bad moment, because they are caught by both opponents Take together with Ablon, and that basically means that they are dead. But still, they did some kind of damage. They did kill 2 camels, it seems, which is going to buy a bit of time and opportunity for some extra raiding from the yellow player. But his units are almost dead, so that's not really all that easy. Can this knight actually kill the villager? Yeah, they did. Oh well, so they were lucky enough to actually kill the Willy, and that's quite important, because this is still meaning a bit of a free time to get into the bases, but they have to hurry up, as obviously Ablon is not far away with next villager and trying to finish the wall right there. So this is happening, but also you can see that Skittle is having a pretty decent army, because he's been slung. So yep, that's a very nice army indeed, and it seems like that they should be able to kill even those camels, because obviously camels are kinda a softer counter to cavalry, not really a hard one, and this means that the yellow is right now a pretty strong force to reckon with. Red is trying to join with some crossbowmen from the left, and what is also doing yellow? Well, he's trying to right now to push through the walls of the Hunt player from FH, from SlipKn0T, FH. And he's going to be quite successful indeed very soon, because FH so far doesn't have any kind of army. Just a few spearmen together with the cavalry archers, which is not really all that much. But looking how he doesn't have any kind of cover army here, yeah, it's not really going to be all that easy. And maybe Instead of trying to reinforce the wall, I would be just deleting it and getting with those villagers on the battering ram here. But I'm kind of afraid, or rather thinking, that VH is not really aware that no army is there from yellow and is waiting for exactly the right unit, the Mangonel, to get rid of this nuisance. Going back to the bottom, we have seen a bit of a battle here, but it was already happening a lot earlier. And also, yet another Mangonel here, and pretty decent defense overall from VH. So SlipKn0Ts are definitely taking this quite a lot defensively, and basically they will be trying to weather the potential threat from the slunk Han. Skittle, and potentially get on the even ground with all three SlipKn0T players fully engaged in the game with the Imperial Aegis later on. So yep, right now they seem to be pretty decently covered overall. Yeah, you don't really expect those crossbowmen to get the line of sight, or rather get close enough to actually fire on those guys. Well, they actually do. Well, that's surprising. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's right. Right on the edge, actually, those villages. So that's kind of unfortunate for VH. But since nobody is really attacking and the defense is really nice, let's have a look around how players are booming. So VH is building market, and otherwise he's having 2 TCs, 3 TCs. So 3 TC boom for the Hans VH, which is understandable and usual. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that's a lot. That's quite a lot for the Chinese, and if he can actually survive with this into Imperial Age, that could be pretty threatening for NC, so they definitely should be hurrying up with their potential pressure. Second, 3 TCs for the teal player as well, for the Mongol, and as for NCs, we see 1, 2, 3 for a red, if I see this correctly. Fourth will be coming up from a sniper, so that's a pretty decent one. And here you can see that still in Feudal Pedro, it's just on 1 TC obviously, and he's slinging as much as he can. 1, 2, 3 TCs from yellow it seems like, or 4. Oh, actually 4 TCs from yellow, so it's going to be a pretty strong boom with the 5th TC right now being dropped, and I'm kinda expecting this should be pretty strong play from Skittle in the later game here. So let's see if he can really be the decisive factor. As right now NCs are hoping he will be dropping Siege Workshop and a bit different space, and this is definitely just telling you that SlipKn0Ts are just preparing for the onslaught of their opponents and trying to build a second wall to protect them even more and buy them extra time to advance into the next ages and to the next upgrades. Yeah, it's a pretty decent defense against those battering rams, obviously. Is there some way through? Well, this is a bit sketchy, just 1 tree actually protecting the base here, but yeah, that's all it takes in Age of Empires, and it's quite strong enough for the defense. Well, let's just waiting for the storm to happen here. Not really all that much happening anywhere else, not even some kind of important upgrades, just that Skittle is finally advancing into Imperial Age. Bit of stone mining, bank in hand card for take, so he's just booming. And looking at the villagers, we see yeah, quite a decently more for actually, well, decently more right now. SlipKn0T actually jumped quite a lot, so kind of equal. 72, 69, 50, 75, 77, 76, and 60. But Pedro is slinging in Feudal Age, so he's just building out of 1 TC. And let's wait what kind of strategy is going to be better. With VH also clicking into Imperial Age, and he wasn't slung. So that's just telling you that basically SlipKn0Ts should be much better off, as the sling hasn't paid off at all at this point. Because literally he couldn't do anything with it, Skittle, at this point, and not thinking that that's going to be the strategy that is going to win anything for them. So, what are your bets at this point, viewers? What's going to happen? Because really, we're not seeing anything substantial at this point. And just literally waiting for the correct moment. We see the resources, that's a lot of gold for Skittle, so he will be upgraded into Cavaliers pretty soon, and Paladins quite potentially also, but he will need extra food for that obviously. But I'm thinking that Pedro is right prepared for that, and that will be just a question of a moment. Well, double wall also here from Teal, but it's going to be stopped by those very nicely placed crossbowmen just for this extra eventuality. Okay, then can they hit him? Well, they did, but they did not kill him. Preparing with capped rams, as you can see in the Imperial Age. And waiting. Oh, SlipKn0T VH is actually preparing to go out of his base at this point. and hoping to surprise his opponent sometime soon. Yeah, that's pretty important at this stage, and he might be having a pretty decent time raiding his opponent, as obviously he's not walled at all. It's just a provisory wall at the very forefront with the tower. That's a pretty decent defense, but still, the base open from the back. Let's see if that's going to be enough. A lot of knights here. Not exactly sure if Skittle is at this point aware. But maybe he's leaving them just to be sure at the back for the defense, hoping or rather thinking that he might be under attack from his opponent sometime soon. The castle drop being attempted, but with those mangonels here it's not going to be all that easy, but at the same time, since they don't have enough range to actually shoot at those villagers, even though I would guess at least they could shoot on this left side, but they don't, and they are basically giving up, and those villagers will have to give up on this pretty soon as well. So that will be castle from the Hun player. Oh, that's slightly interesting. I would be maybe expecting castle from another one, like for example Sniper, who is Mongol, so definitely he will need extra castles right there for his Mango dice, but so far that's not happening, and the ejection of a pretty decent amount of cap trams is right now going to be a bit of a problem for his opponent, because obviously Gray doesn't have any kind of army from this, even though he's advancing into Imperial Age. That's going to be a bit later than this. Yellow is actually going to break through the walls, and yep, yet another lumber camp here, and quite a lot of villagers basically waiting for yet another building spam. Now looking at the resources, that's going to be Paladin upgrade for those knights pretty soon as well. Right about now, should be clicking in. It's going to be a pretty decent upgrade time for him, and let's see if he can push through the walls. Oh well, that's a pretty nice mic right there. One of those villagers just building each one of those walls, so that's a pretty nice building right there. And can those Mangonos actually get rid of those siege workshops items that his opponent has built? Well, that was a good shot on the crossbow, obviously, and I'm kind of thinking that they really can, because the micro with the villagers and the wall building is very nice, and yeah, this is not working as well as Yellow would have hoped, and this is yet again a pretty big problem for NCs, as their sling is not just paying any kind of dividends at all. Yep, that's an attempt basically failing on the attack, and a pretty big victory for SlipKn0T, who has been able to defend against a slang player. Yeah, that's correct. So yet another siege workshops here. They're just biding their time, actually trying to get into VH's base at this point. And looking at another siege workshop from VH as well, he will be preparing to switch into the Cavaliers as well. Yep, he's already researching Paladins at pretty much the same time as Skittle. And is he being slunk also as well at this point? Yeah, he is. Yeah, Ptak is sending into VH at this point, so that's the reason why actually VH is at this point on the same page as his opponent Skittle with the Paladin upgrade. So it's going to be a proper 1v1 between those strong units, with VH sending his Cavaliers at exactly the right moment, and this castle drop is not going to work, as yeah, pretty nicely spotted and also defended by both Ablon and VH at this point. You can also see that Sniper is finally switching into Mango Dice Research and Elites, and also Ballistics, so it's going to be a pretty decent army. And even though Skittle is thinking that he will be having Paladins pretty fast, yeah, he will be quite surprised by having Yellow, or rather Purple, be slightly faster than him. So yeah, these are the Paladins here. And Yellow will be having Paladins just a moment, right about now. So that's just running right around, but with all those camels here from the Chinese player SlipKn0T, I'm not thinking that this is a battle that really NCs want to take at this point. So that's quite interesting how this is going to develop. This might be quite telling for the next progress of the game, because obviously if somebody were to lose this huge amount of knights or other paladins in this early game, this could still have quite decent influence on the game overall. At the top, you can see that finally PH has used the gate here that he has built and is emerging from his shell, trying to attack his opponent. But look at how many buildings, how many stables is Yellow actually having here, together with the very nicely built siege workshop, and returning home, or rather into his forefront base with all the paladins here. This is going to be quite hard for PH to do something about, but he's also mixing some very important spearmen in there, so he will be potentially having an upper hand if he can get them in the right moment, into the right place. But still pretty decent amount of siege, and it might be a bit problematic for VH at this point to defend, because yep, he's not having the numbers here, I'm kinda thinking, and he's already left, or rather left some of the knights here, or other paladins, into his own base, and they are right now trying to wreck the economy of FVH. So, and they seem to be doing a pretty good job of disrupting that, and you can see that the walls have been breached and the attack is full on from Skittle, and this is basically a proper 1v1 between those two slung, VH and SlipKn0T, rather, no SlipKn0T, and Skittle. That's a pretty decent battle. And I'm also looking at the minimap, how Red is developing his base. If you have a look, he's having a lot of dots at the bottom and in there. So once this battle is going somewhere, if either VH is retreating or Skittle is retreating, I'm going to have a look there. And looking at the reinforcements from Ablon, I'm kinda thinking that Skittle will be retreating pretty soon. Even though he will lose all those siege, yeah, he can't really fight two armies at once, and he will be needing the help from Pedro pretty soon, who is also advanced into the castle age. Finally, so he is switching into full eco mode and stopping the slinging, I would say. Looking at the economy, Sniper is having a pretty beastly one, 147, that's a pretty good one. And he is also joining in the fight, so it seems like a proper 2v2 here. Between Sniper Skittle against Ablon and VH with Take, and Pedro just basically slinging and trying to back into the game. So that's a pretty huge engagement yet again, with VH trying to build a castle, basically protect his own base, and that's a really reasonable thing to do, because he needs some kind of a defensive position that he can fall back to and basically protect himself against the huge onslaught of his opponents. So this seems to be breaking off this attack, so let's have a look at the bottom here, where Blue is trying to wall his opponent in, and Red is also trying to build some siege workshops, and he will be attempting to basically kill his opponent Teal here, who is doing something substantial. Building a market. Well, that's nice. That's very nicely built wall around the castle, basically preventing it. And well, he is also, Ablon is building a castle here, just trying to make sure that he is protecting the gold here, as that will be quite crucial indeed. A bit of an army from Kanagas, Chemos and Manguda is being dead here. Castles from Sniper here, basically producing quite a lot of Mangudais, and really it seems like the Red is right now thinking about full-on attack on the Teal player. Also stealing his stone, that's going to be quite crucial, so basically Mongols need all the stone they can get for the extra castles on Mangudais. And well, the battle on the top seems to be slightly going for SlipKn0T at this point, but I wouldn't really call it a goner or some kind of decisive push, because obviously, yeah, NCs are just waiting for the right moment to pounce there. Extra stables being built by Skittle, who is just preparing to mass as much as he can. And extra upgrades, rocketry, banking, chemistry. Well, that's kinda interesting for Ablon. From Ablon, who is Chinese, so can he maybe be switching into some kind of extra unit? Yeah, he definitely is switching. Right now you can see into Chukonus, and they are pretty deadly if they are massed to some great numbers, basically like Plumed Archers. Yeah, that's if they reach some kind of critical mass, they are very hard to deal with, especially if you don't have Mangonels, which rather Onagers, which I'm kinda afraid so far is the case. I'm not really thinking that Sniper or anybody else in NC so far is having upgrades in there, but they will be soon forced to go for that, as obviously they won't be able to face those Chukonus at all. Right now Chukonus are going to the bottom, which I think is a pretty decent idea, so obviously they should be very good against the Mangudais, who are having 7 range. Chukonus are at this point having also 7, so that's basically an even battle, but with the cost advantage, if I remember correctly, going for the Chinese. So this is going to be a breach of the walls pretty soon, with the Mongolian player though also switching into full military at this point, as he's in Imperial Age, going for a bracer or whatnot, and having quite a decent amount of castles. Right now he's having 3 castles, that's pretty decent for a Mongolian player, and he will be quite easily defending his home base here against those siege rams together with Mangudais, especially with the extra help from the great player Ablon. At the top we see a full engagement of, at this point, Skittle together with VH, with some extra units from both Ablon and Sniper, but not really anything substantial. But what's also important to notice is that both Skittle and VH are also building some kind of army of halberdiers, which is pretty important in this stage of the game, as who is going to use them better is going to win, as obviously paladins are going to fall like flies to any kind of engagement with those guys, with those huge weapons. Okay, so this is a pretty good castle drop, and if Skittle can actually fully finish it, as opposed to the one at the middle or at the bottom, this could be pretty important for him as well, as this will basically develop into some kind of important battlefield here between those two defensible positions for either of the teams, and it will be quite interesting to see how the players will tackle this kind of problem. At the bottom we see the full breach into Teal's base. Right now there's just a battle of all those archers, with Red just getting slaughtered, obviously, because he's facing basically double numbers than what he is supplying, and that means that he will need some extra help, or yeah, he will need some extra help pretty soon, and let's see where Blue is going to develop. So far he is still in Castle Age, trying to boom himself in, right now at 132, which is pretty decent, and let's see what is going to be his unit of choice. So far, just a lot of units here. Deleting the towers because he will be probably building, yeah, trade route pretty soon. You can see that yellow is already working on it, and the other side is already having it done with some extra scout cavalry from yellow already fighting it. So that's a pretty important learning for the NC team, and I'm really looking where Blue is going to finish, or rather settle with all his buildings, but so far he's not going to be anywhere else. He was also still sending some resources to Skittle, and well, it seems like that we are going to be seeing some extra surprising castle drop yet again, but where is that going to be? Because Ablon is also thinking of some pretty nasty surprise with all those light cavalry together with quite a lot of mangonels, probably just waiting for the upgrade into onagers or something, and also those trebuchets here. So they are moving forward, and where are they going? Well, Pedro is thinking that yeah, one wall is not enough, so he's just trying to wall the map altogether, and oh well, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate for Ablon, because right now he's going to be discovered by those yellow villagers, and at the same time it's also unfortunate for Skittle, because Grey right now knows that something is happening from Skittle as well, that he's trying to make some surprise attack somewhere at the bottom. So yep, you can see a bit of a stables here. So definitely they want to switch the battlefield from the top to the bottom, I would say, because they see that it could be potentially easier to push through the bottom with the help of the paladins of Skittle as opposed to the top battlefield. You also see though that FH is actually not winning here, because he's fighting against those two opponents, whereas Ablon wasn't really helping with camels or some kind of Chukonos. Right now he's moving in with Chukonos and light cavalry, and also yet again some camels, and this might really turn the battle yet again around, as this is going to be yet again a full 2v2 as opposed to the 2v1 that it was so far from NCs onto SlipKn0Ts. Yep, here we see the reinforcements coming in, which is going to be a pretty bad news for those Mangudais. And also the paladins, because they can't really get some clean shot in those Chukonos. I'm really waiting for who is going to switch into onagers here. Yeah, it's going to be NC Sniper as the Mongolian, of course, upgrading into siege onagers right now. That's going to be quite important stage in the game, as obviously some good shots into those Chukonos are going to do quite decent wonders in the game. In the middle we see a bit of a raid in here from Grey. And also Teal player Uptake is having a pretty decent army, and even though he's been caught up by Sniper, this is just going to be too late, and quite a lot of elites have died, and also this means that the stone is not safe for the moment here. SlipKn0T Ablon is also attempting to actually gather from this stone. Yeah, that's not going to fly at this point, as he's going to lose absolutely everything. But yeah, it was kind of worth it, because he needs all the extra stone, obviously, as a Chinese, and yeah, he can't really afford those villages to remain here. Not exactly sure. Oh, he's basically retreating, I guess, because he doesn't think that he can kill enough villages with all those Mangudais. Yeah, those poor yellow guys are just gonna get slaughtered here. Yeah, not idols anymore. And looking somewhere else at the battlefield, at the bottom we see that slowly but surely Red is thinking that he can push through into the Teal base and basically kill him at this point, and I kinda think that he might be right, because he has already finished extra castles in there, which is a pretty decent defensible position and will be hard for his opponent to take care of. At the top, at the same time, the Chinese presence is really being known, or rather is making quite a lot of difference, and it is allowing VH with Ablon to actually push through here, because it doesn't seem like Skittle is having enough knights here, or paladin is just having a few idols here, as he's not really fighting at this point, and he's defending with just the walls from Blue and the castle that he has built himself. In here we have a bit of raiding on some kind of... Yeah, that was just like 3-4 villages from yellow. That's not really anything crucial, but still it means that Teal is doing a pretty good job with the raiding, and Red is having all kinds of troubles defending against that, so that's proper Mongolian battle right there. And in the bottom, not much, just quite a lot of stone stealing, because actually this is stone that should be NCs. They should be taking a lot more care of this than they are, because they are giving quite a lot of resources to their opponents, and exactly stone, which is not something that they would want. Teal is also developing slightly into the middle here, with some siege workshops, basically trying to counter what Yellow is right now waiting with, and he's having quite a decent amount of army, both Hussars and Paladins, together with a decent amount of, what is it, already siege rams, I would guess so, trying to prepare for potential onslaught, but a lot of barracks from Ablon here, also preparing for a lot of spam of some kind of halberdier or pikeman, not exactly sure at this point what Chinese can build. This is right now going to develop into yet another pretty huge battle between the Han's players and supported by the Chinese, but can the Mongolian presence be enough? At this point I wouldn't really say so. It's going to be a pretty uneven battle for Yellow. I'm not exactly sure that he should be taking it, because he's just getting slaughtered at this point, as he's fighting against two, being just one, and those Magurais are definitely not enough in here. So that's that at the top, with Skittle losing the defensive castle here, and trying to build as many stables as he can, basically to produce paladins. Like a meat shield for potentially anything, even against all those Chukonos and halberdiers, basically to allow his ally at the bottom with the onagers and the Mangurais and trebuchets to push through. So far though, he's not really all that successful trying to stop the trade route at least, which might be some kind of help, but he's still not through to the base of his opponents, and he's not having any kind of luck with that. Right now a bit of an ejection of the units in the middle, but unfortunately for him there's quite a lot of defense from SlipKn0T, and it doesn't seem like this kind of attack is going to work here. So that's that. But yeah, we see that those villagers from Grey have already finished, and Pedro is here again trying to finish the wall. This time it seems to be like he will be successful, defending his trade route quite nicely, and we'll be seeing if the battle will be decided at the top battlefield or not. So far it seems like that really this is going to be a decisive battle, as definitely Skittle is fighting to 1 versus 2 here, and that's not something that he can win. Even though he's spamming quite nicely, he can't get rid of those pesky trebuchets here, and they are doing all the damage here to all the buildings and potential defenses that NCs are having here. I'm still just lacking any kind of presence from Pedro, and I'm really thinking that Pedro should be at this point going for potentially halberdiers, I would guess, either halberdiers or eagle warriors, seeing as he's Mayan, and that should really be switching the game around, as he would be quite good against both those Chukonos and also a lot of cavalry, like the camels here, from both SlipKn0T Ablon and also the paladins from TH, of course. That's a pretty pitch battle right there, but also looking how actually Yellow with Red are winning. Slight or winning, they're actually equal in the battle here at this point, which is also pretty important, but looking how TH is switching, rather Ablon is switching into bombard towers. Yeah, we are developing a bit into Black Forest here, and that's quite interesting indeed, especially when we are on Arabia. So that's a pretty interesting battlefield, with Red still trying to push through here, but right now not doing anything. Come on, at least try to push through the walls here, because otherwise you can't really do anything substantial. In the middle, wall not finished, because Plague is doing a pretty good job at preventing that. But with all those villagers here, I'm kinda hoping that Pedro will finish sooner rather than later. A lot of idle release from Yellow as well. I see some, or rather here, yeah, I did see those siege rams right there, and that's a pretty sneaky attack from Grey, who is having a pretty decent amount of buildings, both those barracks and siege workshops, and trying to push through and basically hurt their opponents right inside their, right on their belly. And he's going to be successful, especially with the hidden valley here. Well, not really purposefully hidden, but this is just waiting for the correct moment to place some kind of castle or whatnot. But right now they are running right inside those Mangurais, so that's that, and we'll be switching to the battlefield that is at the north side yet again. Those bombard towers are exactly a pretty great idea right now from SlipKn0T, because this is developing into a pretty decent defensible position for them, or rather a position that is very hard for NCs to go back to. And so far they're not really attempting to go there, and yeah, situation is getting a bit dire, because you can see that the battle is getting dangerously close to the trade line, and once this trade line is actually disrupted, I'm kinda guessing that NCs will be toast, as I'm not really seeing how they can battle in here with all the gold right now being extinguished, or rather exhausted on the map. Yeah, we see that those Jugonus with the Hellion advantage on top of that are doing a pretty decent job. With all those Paladins supporting Skittle, he's still not able to do enough. He's also switching into skirmishers, and really this is just waiting for exactly this. Yes, yes, yes. This is waiting for the oranges from red, and they should have come a lot sooner. But so far they are at least coming in now. And well, unfortunately there is some kind of breach through walls that was here in the middle, and that's still allowing Teal to do a pretty good job of getting through. And oh well, he's actually letting him through the wall himself. Oh, that sucks. Oh my, that sucks. He actually let all this army that is like right now slaughtering all those onagers just for nothing in through through his own gate and through his own units. Yeah, right now talking about sniper, and that was really unfortunate as he definitely wasn't aware of that. At the same time though, it seems like that situation is slightly stabilizing, as basically Red is abandoning the battle at the bottom, as not much is happening in there, and is fully engaging in here at top, helping his yellow teammate, and it seems to be paying some kind of dividends. Castle will be pretty nicely positioned, but I'm really worried about the trade line here, because they need to, and these kind of need to switch the battlefield somewhere here, which is going to be hard with those bombard towers there, as if they are still having trade route across the battlefield. Yeah, that's not really ideal at all, as they will be slowly but surely losing that. I'm also curious why exactly SlipKn0Ts are actually not going through the top side to kill the trade altogether, because they should be seeing this. VH, Fog of War. Well, they know that that trade line is going somewhere here, so I'm pretty curious why they aren't sending any kind of siege basically to get rid of that, because once they did, it would be pretty much a game over right off the bat. But so far it's not happening, and this still means that NCs are right into the game. They are actually leading on the score, which is pretty curious at this stage. Not really sure how that is happening, but it is. With their convincingly losing at this point, I would say. Yeah, the building space is pretty important, and it would be kind of ideal if somebody from NCs could do something similar, or some kind of disruptive strategy somewhere. Do we see something interesting? Just stop the trade. Some trebuchets not doing anything. Army from both yellow and red doing nothing at all. Well, that's not ideal at all. It's also not ideal having such idle time here. And is blue something doing? Yeah, he is. He's finally switching into some kind of pikeman, into the defense here, and potentially is he switching into some actual army somewhere? But so far I don't really see him, so it seems like all villagers and whatnot. Yeah, he's having 184 villagers, so he's basically full slinging his allies, and I'm not fully convinced it is actually working at this point. I would be thinking that he would be much more valuable at this point, being fully engaged in the battle. So looking how literally Skittle with well pop. Yeah, I was going to say that Skittle doesn't have extra pop, but he actually does. He's at 150 pop at this point, so he still has 50 extra pop for potential army, but he doesn't have enough military buildings, obviously. He's having, well, quite a lot of archery ranges, stables at the very back, but you can see this is a pretty huge disruption through trade route at this point, and really this is just a crucial moment in the game, because if NCs cannot defend this kind of battlefield, at least at this point where we see a huge amount of dead bodies, this is going to develop into something they are not going to be very happy about. Well. Skittle finally getting some pop back. Yeah, right now he's at 192, getting back into there, and I'm not exactly seeing how it is working for them. Because obviously you can see all three from SlipKn0Ts actually fighting here, and they seem to be having an upper hand than NCs, so I'm kinda not sure how this thing is actually helping. So yeah, if you're saying that without the sling NCs would be losing at this point, I'm not exactly sure, because they should be all having pretty much boom tech or whatever altogether. But let's have a look at the bottom, where finally Red is getting back into the game and trying to make something happen against Steel player, who is not having enough army here, and this should be easy to defend, or rather, yeah, easy to defend those trebuchets from Red, because obviously those Mangudais are going to take care of those few hussars very easily, and he just needs to prevent the siege workshop from pumping some kind of trebuchets, or not trebuchets really, of course, on edges to counter what is happening here. So this is a pretty decent attempt at raiding. I was looking with the trade route actually from them. They seem to be going somewhere else, yeah, from here. At the top, well, that's pretty cluttery. That's not really ideal also. But look at how close it is actually, and right now open for the Radiant from the red, who is exactly aiming there. Oh well, this is going to be pretty big. This is going to be pretty big. Let's switch into sniper to actually have a see, or rather, see how many he does have. Well, not really a huge number, so he'll be caught up with pretty soon. But before that happens, I'm kinda thinking he's going to kill at least a few of those. Yeah, few of those trade counts, so that's a pretty nice job by him on the Radiant, on the trade line. I don't see anything like this on NC's base or other NC's base, as they are having a pretty decent wall-in, thanks to Pedro, who was working on that quite nicely. So pretty decent Radiant, and we still see yet another attempt to push through the walls of blue, and quite successful indeed, even though Ptake is right now not paying attention, because he's having yeah, all his attention right now in his own base, trying to prevent what is happening here. So far not really successfully, and yep, this is a big problem for the SlipKn0Ts right now, and this could be exactly what turns the battle around. So yep, this is it for the battlefield on the right, and on the left, or rather top, it seems like that NCs are getting in with the vengeance, because right now Sniper is having a pretty decent army of those Mango dice, and yeah, trebuchets are finally making an appearance, and some decent siege are going to get rid of anything that SlipKn0Ts have built here. You can already see them retreating back back towards the Free Ages base. And it seems like that those extra siege that were missing for basically like, I don't know, 20 minutes game time at least, are going to be exactly the point that is going to turn the battle at the top around here, because obviously those bombard towers are, or rather, very pretty strong, and you can see the siege workshops being built from Skittle, and he will be trying to pump out enough siege rams to lay waste to all his opponents' buildings. And this is just right now trying to engage yet again, but it might be just a bit too late, and I'm really waiting for extra siege, especially onagers from the red player. They are still not coming, but they need to be here. That's like completely needed, especially against this huge army of Chukonos together with the Halberdiers. That will be really doing wonders here, I think. But if he can finish at the bottom with his siege, which right now doesn't seem to be likely, as he's right now encountering the full army from Take, also building extra castle, trying to prevent any kind of potential extra raid on the trade route here. This is basically defended by Teal, but not without any kind of damage that was dealt to his economy and overall the trade route here. So yet another attempt, but that's going to be quite foolish, especially against all those Mango dice, of course. So that's a huge waste of resources right there, not ideal from Red, but he's also defending against the push that was from the siege weapons in the middle, where Pedro is trying to repair his walls. Finally, Pedro is also advancing into Imperial Age. So he's probably aiming to finally switch into some kind of army himself once he is comfortable that he can actually push forward with his allies. So far though, it doesn't really seem like they might be needing that all that much, as this huge amount of trebuchets, even some idols here from Red, and yeah, pretty decent amount of actually pop from the paladins here. This might be exactly the right moment for Pedro to actually join in the fun, because SlipKn0Ts are right now at the defensive, and with all those really trebuchets in here, I'm not exactly sure if NCs can actually sustain this kind of pressure, as I'm really kind of feeling that SlipKn0Ts are waiting for the right moment, as when you see this huge amount of trebuchets from yellow, this is quite a lot of population limit actually, and that means all that less amount of paladins at this point, so not really all that ideal. Not really all that ideal at all, and even though he's not popped, this is still kinda dangerous for them, because if they engage in some pretty big battle, they will be facing a huge disadvantage in the population limit, which should result in a very huge loss of lives. Right now, pretty good shots with the onager from Teal. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good shot into there, but really just half health from those Mango dice, but still, that does count, and quite a lot of extra siege right now from Red. Yeah, I would be kind of expecting a bit more on edges, but siege rams are going to be quite nice as well, and it seems like that SlipKn0Ts are going to call it a GG, because right now you can also see that Take is not really doing all that well. Sniper is doing quite nicely indeed with his own offensive in his base, and yeah, he doesn't seem like that Take is able to defend against that, as he's being assaulted from here. He's also being raided in the middle here here, and yep, snipers all over the place, trying to prevent what is happening, and blue is, yep, fully switching into at least some kind of army, and it's Pikeman, and it seems to be exactly the right one. And yeah, the disruption of the trade route, which is, well, that's definitely kind of open. I haven't noticed that earlier. There was actually a whole hole in the wall that NCs could have actually employed, or rather exploited a lot earlier, but well, finally they found out, and they are definitely going for it. GG's being gold with SlipKn0T resigning, and after some very heavy battles where NCs didn't really look all that good, they were able to hold on long enough to actually push through their opponent's offensive, and they have won the game number 1 on the Arabia. Well, that was a pretty decent one. Pretty decent one overall. And quite interesting because literally the battle was all over the place, with players trying to switch momentums from one battlefield to the other one. Yeah, SlipKn0T trying to push through the walls from Pedro, and really those walls from Pedro were pretty crucial, and they are not anything to be underestimated if you see them happening. So yep, pretty nice job in there. So let's have a look at the achievements. With Sniper actually having the most in there. Units killed 1000 and losing 300. Well, that's a pretty good ratio. That's not a bad ratio at all. Whereas Skittle wasn't having a very nice one, but he was fighting quite a lot of camels and halberdiers, obviously. So that's just like sending your horses to the slaughter. So yep, that was exactly what was happening for the majority of the game. But he did held off his opponent quite nicely. Decent slinging overall. Oh well. Haha, 87,000. Yeah, that's not half bad. With Skittle receiving the majority of it. And yeah, that's one for the records. Imperial Age at 1:12:56. And yeah, of course, he was slinging, but still, it's kind of funny. And Villager's Eye, of course, 191. He was slinging full time. That was his job this game. Alright then, GG.